And as marketers, this is where we have to be very careful. You need to know what's allowed and what is strictly off limits. In this episode of The Edge, we are going to be diving into a company's marketing that spends a lot of money on advertising. Sweet moolah. BetterHelp.com. I feel like I see these guys everywhere. They've been around since 2013. I wouldn't have known it back then, but today they're kind of hard to miss because as we jump into the tools and take a look, you will see that they are spending substantial amounts on advertising. But let's just go ahead and start off on their homepage. So when I look at their homepage here, I'm liking the design, the color schemes. Right away though, headline, subheader, and you've got your call to actions there. You deserve to be happy. What type of therapy are you looking for? So if we just click this, it's going to take us into a quiz right away. Right, you get the point. So it's a pretty long quiz. They are putting this big call to action right at the top of their site. I mean, it just really dominates the whole above the fold. You've got your navigation here, but the centerpiece, you see all this negative space here? Really shows you that they are having you concentrate on this call to action. And if we scroll down, we see some stats here, some form of credibility showing how many sessions they've delivered, how many licensed therapists are ready to help, how many people got help. And they tell you that it's the world's largest therapy service, 100% online. Right? So a little bit about their therapist, another call to action, get matched to a therapist, and they're just explaining how it works. I notice on their site they are using a lot of negative space. That means they're showing you the information you need to see surrounded by just a bunch of open space. What they're trying to do here is just to get you to focus on what they want you to focus on, right? Telling you how it works, showing you here that you can just do this over probably a FaceTime call, comparison here. So they're going after the whole in-office market, right? Showing you everything they can do that in-office can't. And I would say that this market's only going to grow. In recent times, we've seen the rise in Zoom, video conferencing, work from home. So it only makes sense that that really coincides with a company like BetterHelp really starting to expand. I'm reading a book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and he cites some studies talking about how younger generations who basically have grown up with all the tools in their hands, like cell phones and everything like that, are always connected, and that has driven up things like depression and anxiety. So we're really seeing the pressures of modern society bring out, create more stress and problems for people. So that's another catalyst that I could really see, growing this entire market that BetterHelp is going after. So we kind of see a perfect storm of events happening, right? Remote conferencing becoming more normal, where if you went back, 10, 15, 20 years ago, this it just wouldn't have been a thing because people weren't doing remote conferencing that much. Add in the rise of all the stresses of modern day life, you can see how a company like this is well positioned in the market. Right? Adding some testimonials, you can click for more success stories, a nice FAQ so people can get a grasp on how this works. This is the thing I thought was very interesting. Give the gift of a BetterHelp membership. Therapy is one of the most meaningful gifts you can give to your friends and loved ones. I don't know how I feel about that. Like if someone gave me this, like, what are you telling me? I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a touchy one, but they're kind of really going kind of mainstream with this whole thing. And I looked them up, just did a quick Google search. They have been around since 2013. I start seeing traces of their marketing in 2018. I just don't remember them much at that time. It's in the last, couple of years, and we're going to see in the tools where they're just spending a ton on advertising. And that's where you really see a company like this transform into a brand, right? Where they're just going for share of voice and brand lift and things like that, and people just knowing who they are. So to achieve that on a large scale, you've got to spend a lot of money. So when we take a look at them on similarweb.com, we see that they're actually getting over 10 million visits a month. I mean, that's just a crazy amount of traffic. And in mental health, they're actually number 5 in the United States. Fairly close gender distribution here. We're seeing a lot of the traffic come come in on the younger age categories. And they've got a nice mix of traffic here. They've got a lot of direct. We see almost 22% of the traffic is organic search. Over 11% is paid search. Now you got to remember, this is a big piece of pie of traffic. They're getting over 10 million visits a month. So these percentages here become pretty substantial. Close to 5% from social, over 5% from email, and not quite a percent on display. I would have thought they had more display going than that. Social network distribution. We see a ton coming from YouTube, and when we get into AdBeat a little later, you're going to see some eye-popping numbers there on YouTube spend. So when we come on over to SEMrush, you're going to see their organic search traffic is 2.4 million. Paid search traffic coming in at over 330K and over 4 million backlinks. I mean, those are just some crazy numbers. All right, I want to jump into their organic keywords. All right, so they're coming up for their brand, and they have a really hefty amount of search just based on their brand, variations of their brand. So this is a term that I'm not familiar with. Let's see. Looks like they're doing plenty of SEO, and we see that from the organic search numbers. Let's just click on over here and see what they're doing. Their advice page is basically a blog. So instead of calling it a blog or articles, they're calling it advice. I mean, that tends to go well with their business because that's what they do. That tends to seem to fit well, calling it advice with a therapy-based business. Liminal space is a concept that has been talked about a lot lately. There are certain places or states of being in which you feel different, off, or uncomfortable. Often these uncomfortable spaces turn out to be liminal spaces. All right, so they're talking about this whole concept here. Okay, this is of course very relevant for their market. All right, listing a lot of spaces that people are uncomfortable with, and they're explaining this concept, establishing authority here. All right, we have a very small call to action here. Talk to someone who will listen. Another call to action always up here. So liminal spaces getting over 8,000 searches a month, and a lot of other concepts here. Twin flames, eye contact, reverse psychology. So they're definitely doing a lot of SEO, and you see that from the amount of organic search traffic that they get. Nice little subtle call to action in the article. Very well done there. And I always like to jump straight away into their paid keywords to see if that goes hand in hand with what they're doing on their organic, or if they're just doing a completely different strategy. All right. Wow. So they're bidding on terms that have a lot of search volume. Therapist near me, therapy, just the word therapy, virtual counselor. So you can see why they have a lot of paid search traffic too. They're bidding on some really big terms. Therapist near me, marriage counseling, psychiatrist near me. Of course, they've got their brand terms in there. Anger management. I mean, wow. These are some big terms. This is a lot of traffic. I'm telling you guys, mental health, I think it's a growing concern. Anxiety therapist near me. Let's just click on one of these. Okay, so they're pushing all of their traffic to this page, and I just clicked on the consent form here. And this is something, as you'll see a little bit later, really got these guys in trouble. A lot of times we just think about cookies and things as something happening in the background. There's always chatter going on about it in news and politics, but you're going to see a little bit later how it actually really got these guys in trouble. So, and myself even coming here, I'm tending to do this a lot lately. And Safari's blocking a lot of tracking. So they're going to send you to this quiz. So really all their search stuff is just sending you right to this quiz. Landing page was betterhelp.com / get started. So very similar to their homepage, but truncated, shortened, right? So they're just focusing on their quiz there. So the quiz, credibility logos, a few testimonials, more success stories, some bullet points about the company, join over 4,000 people, and that's the end of the page. So really what they've done, their homepage is very much like a landing page, but they're running traffic to this page, which is actually shorter than their homepage. They've actually condensed it down. So that's something that's pretty interesting, and I can see why they're doing that. So that link looks to be where they're sending pretty much all of their search traffic. Let's go 10 pages in. Yeah, I've gone through a lot of the results here, and it doesn't look like they're using that strategy that we see sometimes where someone actually sends paid search traffic to a blog post. They're just sending you straight to that information survey landing page where they're just trying to intake you as a prospect. We can see that a lot of these big companies, once they really hone in on an intake process, you can call it a survey, an information form. Once they really get that honed in, it really becomes a centerpiece of their marketing where they're driving the majority of their paid traffic. Okay, guys. Let's jump into AdBeat here. And this is what I found super interesting. When you have a look here, you see that $25.6 million spent on YouTube. And you know what? I bet it's even higher because I tend to find that AdBeat underreports because it's underreported a lot of my traffic. So it's probably even bigger than this. But man, they are spending massive amounts on YouTube. This has got to be a big reason why everyone knows about them. They're just hitting that YouTube advertising nonstop.
It's time for me to get set up for therapy, and I use this room as my office, but the desk is over here. And so when I'm seated at the desk, this is the background. I have my therapy session, which is virtual, and I find myself looking really forward to it nowadays because I found a therapist that I really like. I had to switch a few times until I found one that I loved, but now I look forward to it a lot. So I'm gonna hop on that, and I will catch up with y'all in like 30-45 minutes. Let's talk about...
Okay. We won't watch the whole ad, but very interesting what they're doing there. This is a UGC style ad where what she's doing right off the bat is just kind of inviting you in and getting you acquainted with what a session is like, right? And just kind of being a fly on the wall. And the feeling that I get from that is like, oh, this is cool, this is chill, this is relaxed, this is, not that stressful. She said she's enjoying it. So she's really just inviting you in there. Hey, you know what? These therapy sessions are actually pretty enjoyable, and this is what it looks like, and this is how I do it, right? So she's kind of normalizing this thing for people because if you've never done it, I could see how people would have anxiety about it. You're going to talk to someone you don't know. You're kind of dealing with a process you've never been involved before. So this is pretty interesting that she's kind of giving you a peek into her setting up for her therapy session.
Easy to get a new therapist and see.
And next, she said she tried a few therapists before she found one that she likes. I think this is answering an objection that a lot of people would have in their minds. It could be a fear, right? Like, oh, maybe I'll go through this company, they'll set me up with a therapist, and I won't like the therapist, and it's going to be a lot of drama, it's going to be awkward, and I just don't want to get started. I just don't want to do it. That kind of thing. So she's answering that objective in the ad right there, saying, I tried a few different therapists before I found one I like, right? So she's answering the objections already in the consumer's mind. They have some very nice branded display ads, goes well with their brand colors, and a call to action here, try therapy online. Interesting. Here they're actually promoting on Google Display a 25% off with a coupon code. 25% off with this code. Discounts and codes, just saying, they probably still work. Right here we see a Taboola ad, professional therapy from the comfort of your home, right? So they are on various networks here. Let's just jump over and take a quick peek at their socials. They have a look at YouTube, 166K subscribers, 58 uploads, not bad. And they actually created this way back in 2014. We have a look at their Instagram. They got over 400K there, so they are active on social. So when I look them up on YouTube here, I see some of their content. It looks like some clips from an interview with some therapists. Then I see a lot of other people kind of reviewing BetterHelp. So there's a Say No to BetterHelp podcast talking about it. So they've kind of entered the mass consciousness where people are going to start to kind of have some commentary about them. Scary truth about BetterHelp, right? So when I come over here, I see these interview style videos, and it looks like they're also putting their commercials on there. So these videos, if we look at the dates, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, 3 months ago, they're not putting out a lot of organic YouTube content right now. And then when we go back even further, 6 months ago, we're just seeing some of their commercials that they did, some more of these in sessions, testimonials. But we have to go back to 4 years ago when it looked like they were really trying to do more with their content. Like they're explaining concepts here like complex PTSD explained. Right? So they're explaining all these various concepts, and you see they had some videos that did really well there, that really stood out. You know, they were taking that approach about 4 years ago and looked like they were doing really well with it. Yeah, they started to really get some momentum with that. Looked to be a pretty good strategy. Then they just kind of tapered off into posting these sessions, which I can't imagine these would be nearly as engaging for YouTube content. Okay, so now let's take a look at Meta. When we have a look at Meta, we can see like this first ad is very simple, very short copy. BetterHelp makes starting therapy easy. Get matched to a therapist online. Very simple, using a lot of short copy there. The thing I noticed right away, though, is that they're actually running ads in conjunction with other pages. So you, the CEO, with BetterHelp, I don't know how to pronounce that, but with BetterHelp. So it looks like they're negotiating a lot of partnerships, which is interesting because influencer marketing has become a big thing. I see that they were doing a lot of that. But you can also partner up with influencers, any partner that you might want to work together with, and actually run ads from their page in conjunction with you, right? So that kind of comes along as a stronger signal of endorsement, especially if it's, you know, an influencer or someone from that group or company in the ad, or even if not, just seeing things like this really gives a signal of endorsement and helps you reach those audiences, right? You could promote, do an organic promotion strategy like that, and then also run ads in this format. So I imagine they were striking quite a few partnerships, brand partnerships and influencer deals, right? So you see they're doing that to a high degree. When I started to Google BetterHelp earlier, through a quick Google search, I could see there's a lot of discussion about them partnering up with YouTubers. Like this result here says why I turned down $1,000 last minute, BetterHelp sponsorship. We need to talk about YouTubers promoting this, BetterHelp. So people are starting to have a lot of commentary around it. You can see a question here, indexed by Google, what YouTubers are sponsored by BetterHelp. Reddit threads saying YouTubers are promoting BetterHelp again. So obviously working with influencers and partners has been a big part of their marketing. I couldn't help but stumble upon something I found very interesting. I saw this result right here. What happened with BetterHelp? And I started thinking, wonder what's going on there. I don't tune into the news a lot. I'm usually too busy and trying to keep my focus on the things I'm doing. So I missed this in the news and the hubbub a while back, but I found out about it now. So when I clicked, it says the FTC says the company doubled down on deception by falsely denying it had shared consumers' personal information, including their health information, with third parties. Remember, I was talking about pixels and privacy, and you know, we hear these discussions all around us, right? And even when Apple unveils new products, it's a big part of their discussion, and they're actively blocking a lot of these things. And I actually watched the event where Apple released the Vision Pro headset. As devices become more advanced, they're collecting more sensitive data, like my watch. It can collect health data, but think about the Vision Pro. It's actually collecting, you know, what you're looking at, right? So the data is getting more and more intimate. A lot of marketers love to, you know, kind of bash Apple for blocking, you know, all the cookie tracking and things that we tend to use as tools when we're working on our campaigns. But the data is getting more and more and more and more sensitive, and there's not much more sensitive than your health data. So I clicked on the link here. So basically what's going on here is BetterHelp is a health company, mental health. They were reassuring their users that their information is on lockdown, it's private, you're safe with us. But what this article says here, let's just read this sentence. But from the FTC's perspective, a truthful statement would have been, rest assured, we plan to share your information with major advertising platforms, including Facebook, Snapchat, Criteo, and Pinterest. right? So this is all about retargeting. You're not allowed to put people into audiences based on their health information. You can do search ads, and if that person is looking for that thing, that triggered the ad because they were looking for it, not because they're in an audience that's being tracked around the internet, based on health data. You can do contextual advertising if you have an ad about back pain on a back pain website. What triggered that ad was the context, not the data you had on the person, right? So this is where things get really dicey. It says, in 2017, BetterHelp allegedly uploaded the email addresses of all current and former clients to Facebook, nearly 2 million in total, to target them with ads to refer their friends to BetterHelp for mental health services. That's just a big no-no. And that's been a while. That's been about 6 years ago. But this tracking thing, your privacy, it is a huge deal, and it's something that we all have to be very aware of. And as marketers, this is where we have to be very careful. You need to know what's allowed and what is strictly off limits, because the FTC takes this stuff extremely seriously, as they should. Health information should always remain private. This article also says that it was revealed in February of 2020 that BetterHelp was sharing consumers' health data with third parties, right? And the article goes on and on. I won't go any further into that. So guys, let's just learn a lesson from this. As marketers, we really have to be mindful with what's going on with compliance and privacy. All right, guys, that was a doozy, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is Jason signing off, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Edge.